let's be honest, it's hard watching someone lift with bad technique. You're always a bit like, ugh. It's nice when you see someone moving heavy weights with a lovely technique. I love seeing it. You know, there's some really good lifters out there, and they're exciting to watch because they're technicians as well. Yeah, it's cool to see a beast, it's cool to see a monster. I like seeing a monster who is also a technician. That is what I aim for myself. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. But I work on being ultimately strong and ultimately technical, which is probably why I've progressed to where I have in the sport, and I have a 1,050 kilogram powerlifting total. We have to approach it as the entire body movement that it is. A lot of people think they can just sit on the bench press or lay back on the bench press and flop down and they'll be fine. You'll get to a certain point, sure, but you're really, limiting your potential and your growth on the bench press if you're not paying attention to the fine details. And welcome back to your mum's favorite channel on YouTube, Cult Strength. It is your lucky day today. I'm going to show you how you can increase your bench press instantly. And this is not clickbait. I'm going to break down this entire movement for you into the finest details to ensure you can maximize your bench press. Now, I am a 260 kilogram bench presser. I'm currently working towards a 600 pound bench press that is 272.5 kilograms. I have around 10 years of coaching experience, and today I'm going to share all my knowledge with you. Let's get it. All right, baby. Now, before we get started with this complete tutorial, you're probably wondering, haven't I done a tutorial recently? I've done 2 different bench press tutorials, but they were not complete comprehensive breakdowns of the entire movement. Now, one of them, which maybe a lot of you subscribers found my page from, was how to increase your bench press instantly. And I gave you a few cues that you could utilize with your bench press and your technique as it is, right? And that was successful. I got a lot of great feedback. The other video that I did was just a few different bench press variations you could add in to help your bench press. But with this video today, we're going to go really in depth and break down every single part of the movement, okay? So we're going to go over things like our setup, our hand placement, where on the bar should our hands be, right? And that's going to vary from person to person. We'll talk about how you should grip the bar, our intention with that, setting up, getting underneath the bar, wedging our shoulder blades in, what we're doing when it comes to that, our leg drive, even unracking the barbell, and of course the aspect of the pressing and where the barbell should touch, etc. So we're going to go full detail with this video today, and it's definitely going to help you. If you can simply apply even half of this to your bench press, if you're not doing it now, I guarantee you, you will get stronger. You will get a bigger bench press. And quickly, the Nutrition 666 ebook, our ebook that we're creating with Iron Will Dietetics, that will be out this week. That is a comprehensive guide to and everything you need to know when it comes to performance-based nutrition and achieving your goals. So that's super exciting, and I'm really keen to get that out for you. But we're going to get started with this now. And don't forget the 20,000 subscriber giveaway. I'm fucking nearly there. So share this video, like this video, drop a comment and subscribe. All of your engagement helps me drive up my followers. The quicker we get to 20,000, the quicker we do a giveaway, and I'm giving away some cool shit. Trust me on that one. Today, I have Em here again. So Em is the one that normally runs the camera. Hey, Em.
Hi.
Em's going to be doing the bench pressing while I explain everything to you. Again, it's difficult to do the movement myself and explain everything I'm doing at the same time while I'm trying to do it. This is a much more effective way for me to show you and help you. What we're going to talk about first is our setup and our hand placement. So we're going to get ready for that. I'll chat in a sec. All right, gang, so we're going to start with the setup. Now, with every lift, I state this constantly, it's important to have routine and good habits, making sure that we set up the same every time. When we're trying to be really good at something, it's about perfecting the entire movement. And if we're not consistent with our setup and things like that, the entire movement is going to suffer, okay? So what I'm going to get Em to do now is to show you a setup. Now, yours may vary slightly, and that's fine. We want to find something that works for us. This is what Em does, and it's very similar to what I do as well. We'll go over it. We'll go over the hand placement as well. and then we'll talk a little bit about the fine details of how we're actually gripping the barbell. Now, with Em, you're gonna slide back underneath the bar, right? Go back for me and stay back. So sit there, right? So what we tend to do, we like to start from behind the bar. Now, Em's quite efficient, so she swings under the bar and swings straight back. But for the sake of this demonstration, we want to see what she's doing, right? So when she's in this position here, what she's doing, her intention here is to set up perfectly, meaning she needs to have her hands on the bar exactly where she wants them, right? For Em, her ring finger is around the ring, roughly, right? And we'll talk more about the finer details of that shortly. But right now, this is the general setup. Her hands are on the bar. She's behind the bar, right? She's gonna set her feet. Now, she's gonna set her feet exactly where she wants them, and she's not gonna move them from here, right? So before we start our actual bench press, before we swing under the bar and get ready to go, we want to make sure that she is 100% in the correct position, so no adjustments have to be made after the fact, because it's very difficult to adjust on the fly. We want to make sure everything's ready to go, so we don't have to think about things too much, because that is one of the worst things we can do, is getting ready to lift and having to overthink and adjust things all the time, which is why I state the importance of routine. Now, when it comes to your specific hand placement and how wide you should have your hands on the bar, we have to take a few things into account, right? Everybody's going to be a little different. Everyone has different strengths. Now, some people prefer a closer grip, some people prefer a wider grip. One rule though is that this line here on the bar, most barbells will have this line here. These are 81 centimeters apart, right? And this is a guide for legal competition grip width. We cannot be any wider than these rings, meaning our index finger at the least has to be covering that entire ring. Okay, that is the widest we can hold the bar. Not everyone holds the bar this wide, not everybody has, I guess, say the shoulder mobility or shoulder health to be able to handle that. But in saying that, that is the ideal width. In the long run, we'd love to have our hands as wide as possible, because that will reduce the range of motion and then therefore increase the chances of you lifting heavier weights. A lot of people prefer a closer grip because I don't think they've developed the shoulder stability or the technique to have a wider grip. Technique becomes more important, I believe, with a wider grip, because potentially, yes, we are putting our pec and shoulder at more risk, but it is a stronger position potentially, right? So it's a trade-off. So I'll leave that one up to you, but the goal will be over time to create the stability for a wider grip. Now, Em, come back under the bar for me. What we're gonna do here, I just wanna show you her intention with how she sets this up with her hands and what she's thinking about before she unracks the bar. Now, one thing to think about, come back for me, Em. One thing to think about, right, is we really want to be externally rotating into the barbell, right? It's called the bulldog grip. So when she's underneath the bar and she's getting ready to unrack the barbell, she's gripping the bar with her full hand, obviously, and what she's doing is she's attempting to bend the bar apart that way by externally rotating from the wrist and the elbow joint, right? And we'll talk about how that ties into scapular retraction and depression after. Now, we're not going to do this rep yet. We're not there yet, Em.
Damn it.
We still got to go through what we're doing with our feet exactly. We're going to do that now, but again, keep in mind, grip is very specific to you. I prefer a slightly wider grip, some prefer closer, but at the end of the day, we want that external rotation on the barbell, because that's going to help us achieve tightness through our upper back and entire body down the track, right? We'll go into that shortly. Let's go. All right, guys, now we're going to talk about our foot placement, but at the same time, we're going to link this all together and go through what we've learned so far, and then we'll do the same again later. Now, obviously, so far we set up behind the bar, right? So shuffle back behind the bar. We find our hand placement. Now our foot placement. Now, the rule with foot placement, bring your feet back as far as your mobility will allow. It may take a bit of trial and error to find the right spot for you, as I say, but we don't want to have our feet so far back that we end up on our tippy toes, right? But we don't want to be so far forward with our feet where we can comfortably have our feet flat on the ground without creating any leg drive. Now, you may choose to bench flat-footed. I don't like to teach a flat-footed bench in most cases. It's not the best way you could possibly do it, and that's what I'm trying to teach you. So I'm going to teach you how to bench press with your heels up. So the goal would be to have enough surface area of your foot on the floor. I would say all of your toes and the kind of the balls of your feet is what you're aiming for, right? And we'll talk about how you generate that leg drive as we go. But as you can see, Em's got her hands on the bar in the right spot. Her feet are set, right? Now what she's going to do, she's going to swing under the bar and wedge and jam her scapula, her shoulder blades, down into the bench, right? We're shoving them down in this way, down towards your lower back, trying to tuck your scapula into your belt perhaps, right? Now, at the same time, her hands have stayed in the same position on the bar, her feet are in the same spot, and she's utilizing the weight on the bar to push herself down into position, right? She's wedging and squeezing. And you might feel like you're up on your traps a little bit, and that's okay. Now, where this arch is coming from, right? Now I can fit my arm under here. That's a good arch, but where it's coming from, it's generated in the upper back, in the thoracic part of the back. We're not thinking about arching the lower back. That is a byproduct of this movement, but our goal here is to get our scapula and shoulder blades into our back pocket, shoving our lats and everything down towards the belt. Another way to think of it is expanding your rib cage as high as you can to touch the ceiling, right? That is a simplified way of talking about it, but what we're really trying to do is get that stability with our scaps and shoulder blades to keep them tucked in. This is the position you need to be in before we unrack the barbell and start our bench press, which is what we're going to talk about in a moment. We're back in a sec. All right, gang, now we're going to cover breathing, bracing, and the unrack, which is the part right before we get to the part you're all looking forward to, which is the actual fucking press, right? But this is all important shit, and your press isn't going to be worth shit unless you can get this shit done. Simple as that. Now, Em's already getting to position. She's very eager here. She's going to be uncomfortable for a little while, but that's okay. As you can see, she's gone through her setup, right? She went through hand placement, foot placement. She's wedged herself into the bench. Now, with her leg drive, this is part of the bracing, right? How we're going to engage our leg drive as we get our breath and brace. Before she unracks the barbell, right? As she takes a big breath. Now, I like to teach this to my advanced athletes, and this is optional for you. I definitely think it's worth learning earlier and not developing bad habits, but it is a little bit off-putting to some people. But what I teach is taking one big breath and holding that breath for the duration of the set. It does take practice, but the reason that I do that is it stops us from losing position each repetition as we breathe out and then having to get it back again, right? So I'm going to teach you how I do it. You can do this if you would like. I definitely recommend you do. This is a very advanced technique. It's not very hard to do. It just takes a few weeks of practice, and you would be fucking doing yourself a huge favor if you learn to do this, right? She's taking a big, big breath. Now she's externally rotating into the bar. She's driving her heels towards the ground and pushing herself backwards off the bench. She's not going backwards because she's got her scaps and her traps digging down into the bench. They're wedging down, stabilizing her, stopping her from rolling or sliding back off the bench. We have to think of it like this big circle of power, right? That's happening right now. We're creating tension throughout the entire body, from our feet to our hands. She's taking a big breath. She's going to unrack the barbell. She's going to do 3 repetitions now, maintaining that leg drive, making sure she's expanding her rib cage to the ceiling at the same time, meeting the bar with her chest back on the rack. Lovely. Now, when we meet the bar with our chest, what we're doing is we're essentially making sure that we're keeping our scapulas retracted and depressed as we're bringing the barbell down. That is the hard part. If you can think about meeting the barbell with your chest, you will drive towards it opposed to driving away from it and rounding and losing that retracted and depressed scapula that you're trying to maintain. Now we have more to cover. I'm going to go over more of the breathing and bracing again right now. So we'll do that again. We'll set it up again all the way through. We'll do a few more repetitions, and then we're going to go into more detail on the press. We're just adding that in here so you can see the full product, but I'll break down exactly what you're looking for, right? So let's set it up again one more time, Em. We'll do another 3 reps. So hand position, slide back under. The feet are set. Now, when you unrack the barbell and you're by yourself, you're gonna have to protract a little bit to get it off the rack, which is okay, but make sure that when that barbell's coming off the rack, we're squeezing our shoulder blades down. As you can see, they're in that perfect position. Let's go 3 reps. Meet the bar with your chest, pull your chest up to the bar, that's it. Driving the heels down, leg drive is on the entire time, back on the rack. And that is so important with leg drive, is it is on the entire time. She is driving her legs down from the moment she unracks the barbell, just before even. She's not trying to get leg drive as she's holding the bar above her. That's difficult to do. If you can get it before you unrack the bar and maintain it the entire set, you're gonna have a much better job of, or a much better bench press and a much easier job of perfecting it all, right? We'll take a moment and we're gonna break down the final part, talk about where on your chest the bar should touch and the bar path and what you should be thinking about. Let's go. Like this video, drop a comment and subscribe. You're the best. All right, gang, now we're gonna tie this all off with the pressing aspect of the bench press, the final part, the fun part. Now, where should the barbell touch our chest? That is a good question. And again, everybody is slightly different. Now, for me, it's right on my sternum, right? Around the hard part. It doesn't quite go down to my stomach. More so where that hard part ends is where, you know, where I touch the barbell on my chest. Now, what that depends on is certain things like your arm length. What we want to think about though is when the barbell is on our chest, right? We want to think about when we're going to press that our wrist and our elbow are stacked, right? So we're thinking like this, we want our elbow underneath our wrist when we're going to press. If you find that your elbows are behind your wrist, you may be touching too low and you're having to pull it back a little bit, right? We want to think about pressing it straight up. We don't want to have to pull it back either. But we also don't want to make sure we're touching too high to the point where we start flaring and obviously shrugging our shoulders up, right? That is terrible for the shoulder joint. I don't want you to think about tucking your elbows. I want you to think about your scapular retraction and depression. If you can retract your scaps properly, they will dictate the position of your elbow and they'll be in the perfect position. So when Em's doing her pressing, pay attention to obviously her forearm, and it's quite vertical, straight up and down, and her elbow and wrist are stacked, right? That's very important with the pressing part, and that's a big part that a lot of people miss. Another big thing is people tend to make their first repetition, they start from the wrong spot. What you'll see is an exaggerated angle on the first repetition, followed by repetitions that are more straight up and down. We want to avoid this first repetition, so what we want to do is make sure that we're bringing the bar out to the correct spot. And I'll go over a little drill with you after this on how you can find that correct spot. It's very simple, but that's important, right? If it's not in the right spot to start with, you can imagine how hard it would be to hit a 1 rep max, especially when all the sets that you do, that first rep sucks and the rest are good, you know there's a problem. And let's set up and go through one more or a couple more reps. We'll do 5 reps for this last set. We're gonna go over everything here, guys. And keeping in mind, as she's bringing that barbell down, everything is stacked, wrists are over the elbows. She's meeting the barbell with her chest. She's meeting it, she's pushing her chest up towards the bar. So leg drive is on, externally rotating to the bar, pull the bar apart, hold that breath, let's go. 5 reps, good. See how the elbow and the wrist here are stacked really nicely? That's an excellent position. Lovely, back on the rack. And for Em, she's touching, would you say that's a bit more on your spleen than your sternum?
Yeah.
Hers is slightly lower than where I touch, but again, we have different lever lengths and different body shapes, right? So not everyone is gonna be the same. You can sit up for me. So what I think is important here with this whole movement is that we have to approach it as the entire body movement that it is. A lot of people think they can just sit on the bench press or lay back on the bench press and flop down and they'll be fine. You'll get to a certain point, sure, but you're really, limiting your potential and your growth on the bench press if you're not paying attention to the fine details. Now, I know that's a lot of information as well. We spoke about pretty much fucking everything, right? We could talk about equipment as well. Maybe I'll talk about that in a moment when I give you that exercise you can do to find the correct starting point for yourself. But there's a lot of information. So as I said, if you can apply even 50% of this to your bench pressing now, you're gonna have a fantastic time. And keep in mind, it doesn't always happen overnight. It takes time, right? Because you've been doing something a certain way for so long, it takes, I wouldn't say it takes as long to fix it, but it takes a lot of focus, okay? And a lot of patience to be able to change those motor patterns. Don't get frustrated with it early, just stick with it. You're gonna thank yourself in the future. If you have any questions regarding this, please drop a comment. I'm gonna get back to you, I'll let you know. I do my best anyway. I wanna show you how you can find the correct starting point for your bench press though. I'll be back in a moment. All right, so I'm quickly gonna show you an exercise you can do to find the correct starting point for your bench press, something that most people are missing. And again, if you don't start correctly, how can you expect to finish correctly, right? You probably won't finish the lift at all, to be honest. If you don't adjust this, you're very limited to how strong you're gonna get. Now, quickly I'll add, with equipment on the bench press, wrist wraps, yes, I think they're fantastic. It's not gonna make you weaker using them, right? A lot of people have this thing they don't wanna use equipment. It does help support the joint. When you start lifting heavy, that's not a bad thing. Same with a belt. Does it directly add kilos to your bench press? I'm not sure. Does it make you weaker? Absolutely not. For me, what it does is it gives me a physical cue to help me accumulate tension and to, you know, keep that stability that I'm looking for through my entire body. It's that missing link in the middle for me, and it definitely helps. Now, this exercise, however, let's talk about that. Very simple. All you're gonna need is a barbell. An empty barbell is fine. And what I'll get you to do, if you can stand up over here for me. We're gonna lay underneath the bench, guys. All right. Now we're gonna come down a lot further than you would normally, right? Just for the sake of this exercise. Grab the barbell roughly where you would bench press. All right. Now, empty bar above you, all right? Drag the bar down your body. Okay, you'll feel it gets heavier and heavier. Bring it back slowly. Now bring it back over your head. The further back you go, you feel it gets heavier and heavier. Now slowly bring it back down and pay attention. Where does the barbell feel the lightest? For me, boom, right here, okay? And I'm gonna come down and up, almost in a straight line. There's a slight angle. A lot of people, what they do is they start here. They think this is their start point, and the first rep looks something like this. They're coming down, and it's slow, and it's like, ugh, it's so shit, fuck, and it's like, oh, okay, there it is, right? Now, how many of you are familiar with that? And be honest, let me know in the comments. I ain't shaming nobody. I'm here to fucking help you. I see this all the time. And it's such an easy fix. You just have to do it. You just have to make sure you're starting in the right position and make sure you're getting that retraction and depression in your scapula as you're coming off the rack, right? Because as you're pulling it off the rack, you're trying to push your rib cage out, pull your scaps back and down, boom, into that perfect position, and then it's straight up and down. Easy peasy. We shouldn't be traveling or moving the bar any further than we need to. That's a big one. But that wraps it up. Nothing else is there, Em?
I don't think so.
That's how you do a bench press, man. That's how you do a really good bench press, because I am a really good bench presser. But I also have worked with a lot of people who have good bench presses as well, right? I've coached over half a dozen men to 200 kilo plus bench presses. I've even coached 3 or 4 women to more than 110 kilogram bench presses, which is fucking heavy when you think about it, right? How do you do that? You have to have good technique. You must. Yes, of course it helps that you're a fucking freak, right? And there's other things that can help, but they don't make it all up. That's not everything. If you want to progress and you want to be really good, make your technique fucking perfect. That will maximize your gains, and then whether you're a freak or not, you're still going to be strong. I guarantee you. And at least you can say that you lift nice, because let's be honest, it's fucking hard watching someone lift with bad technique. You're always a bit like, ugh. It's nice when you see someone moving heavy weights with a lovely technique. I love seeing it. You know, there's some really good lifters out there, and they're exciting to watch because they're technicians as well. Yeah, it's cool to see a beast, it's cool to see a monster. I like seeing a fucking monster who is also a technician. That is what I aim for myself. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. But I work on being ultimately strong and ultimately technical, which is probably why I've progressed to where I have in the sport. And I have a 1,050 kilogram powerlifting total, which is a lot. It is what it is. But until next time, I think you know what to do. If you want a program, go to my website, cultstrength.square.site. I got all the programs, baby. I got all your needs covered. I got merch, I got equipment. Well, merch will be here soon. But I got a bunch of cool shit coming. I'm looking forward to it. Nutrition ebook coming soon. And of course, go to the fucking gym or you will be in trouble off your mother. Let's go.